And good evening, everyone. Easy for me to say right off the bat. Just get the mistake right out of the way, right off the start.
Oh, the one mistake?
The first one. Let's get the first mistake right out of the way in a hurry, and we don't have to worry about making any more because we've already made one. I'm Dwayne Hulett, Kenny Suter alongside. This is TSSR Weekly. We're back again. We started it last year a little bit, Kenny, and we did it for a few weeks, and it kind of started catching ground, but we got really busy. This year, I think we're busier than we were last year, but we got an awesome venue to have it in here in Macomb, Illinois at the Sports Corner at 124. People are on the other side of the dining room right now. The place is packed. Hopefully they start flowing in here. You guys can come check out who we have on the show every week here from the Sports Corner at 124 on North Randolph Street in Macomb, and we're happy to have Sports Corner at 124 on board, and we're happy to be here. And our first guest this year is going to be the man, the myth, the legend, Jack Duncan. He literally is going down in the record books at Macomb High. Literally.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he literally is. He's already in there, and and he's going to go play college ball too. So, all kinds of stuff to talk to Jack about.
Having a great start to the year. He's going to keep on, pushing through and making sure that the Bombers keep moving forward, as we'll talk a little bit later. 4-0, the Bombers are. I don't know. I've been around the sports scene for a long time, Macomb. I don't know that the Bombers have ever been 4-0 that I remember. If they have, it's been a long, long time. Back in the day, they used to play the Quincy Notre Dames and the schools like that, and they'd always go 1-2 or 2-1, and everybody would be like, oh, they're not going to make the playoffs, and then they'd make this huge run in the playoffs, and they'd be okay. So we'll see. I think the Bombers get their first real serious test this weekend against Farmington, so we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But TSSR Game Time Live, which this is a side product of, obviously, Kenny, has grown immensely. So last year when we started this show, it was just West Prairie and BPC. Yep.
Now we have West Prairie, BPC. We've added Macomb High. We've added Southeastern. And then yesterday and today, we've added Abington Avon.
So just more stuff for me to edit after the interview before we leave. We will have highlights from the past week. I think it's 7 games overall that I did right after class, about 3 hours worth.
We probably, both of us, need to get better at time management.
If we had time to get better at time management.
Well, that could be a thing, too. I mean, it seems like that's the answer is time management, and I keep trying to manage, but I just add more things to manage, it seems like.
It is what it is.
It is a good problem to have. We've done a lot of good things. We're continuing to grow. We're not done growing, hopefully. We're going to add some more things into the mix, but we're super happy to be here at Sports Corner at 124, and I think Johnny is coming in. I can't see it. We got lights. We tried to be a little more professional with this. Before we had the camera light. This year we've put up some box lights so we can see what's actually going on and get some good lighting. We've got the Western logo in the background as well, and we've got a Macomb logo in the background as well. So. And then you got the good view across the street, too. It's like we're like professionals almost or something.
Well, almost. It is what it is, Beautiful lighting. You're able to see everything behind us. Too bad you're able to see everything in front of us as well.
That is us. But so we've talked on numerous occasions. I'm going to turn myself down a little bit. We've talked on numerous occasions, you and I. Of course, this is the first TSSR Weekly we've done. But we've talked about how good some of the sports are and some of the teams are in our area right now. And as you look at it, Macomb has got perhaps the best football team they've had in a long, long time.
Years.
The volleyball team is the best that they've ever had. Hands down, I do not disagree with that. Southeastern, second in Class 1A last year, and they are 15 or 14-2 now, or 14-3. They've lost to Unity twice. We'll talk about that. We have highlights of that later. BPC has seemed to be getting a little better as the year goes along.
A lot better than they were last year. I'm doing more of the BBC volleyball games, so I'm getting to see, my sister and all her friends now with it being a senior, getting to see them play a lot more and a lot better than they used to be. Second year or third year, I do believe it's second for Coach Bowman. That first year you're going to have struggles of learning different styles. BPC volleyball has always been kind of, hey, let's go have fun. Trying to bring in, let's win instead of have fun, and win and have fun. Trying to mix that around. Got their first win of the year this year against Peoria Heights. They're going to keep on moving. Had some great games later on in the show. You will see them versus Farmington go to 3 sets. That was a great game as well.
They played Abington Avon last night. You could see that on TSSR Game Time Live. And one of the craziest volleyball games I've seen, Abington Avon beat BPC 25-10 in set 1, and then BPC turned around and beat Abington Avon 25-6 in game 2, and then it was 25-23. They lost in the third set, did BPC over to Abington Avon. So it's kind of, volleyball is so much a game of momentum. I mean, football's kind of that way as well, but I don't think there's any sport more that way than volleyball. And if you haven't watched volleyball, you really need to go see Macomb High, go see Southeastern. And I'm going to make Jack talk a little bit about volleyball. I don't know if he knows anything about volleyball, but he surely knows the girls that are playing this year. So we'll make him talk about it too. But if you want to see what volleyball is really like, for years when I went to school at Bushnell, I never liked volleyball because it was BPC volleyball. And then I started covering volleyball as a journalist and watching Colchester, and then I realized that when volleyball's played right, it's a great sport. It's kind of like football. When football's bad, it's not any fun. But when volleyball's bad, it's not any fun. You add it in with some good coaches and some good players, and it's a whole lot of fun. So we're going to talk about volleyball a lot. Soccer had their senior night for Macomb. We don't have any highlights of that, but we do have some highlights from earlier in the season. We might pull that out and talk some soccer. We're going to try to do a tennis match maybe this coming Monday. We'll see how that flies. And we're going to do some swimming stuff. We got wrestling coming this winter for Macomb High. Got all kinds of great stuff coming here on TSSR Game Time Live.
That's what's great about being able to do Macomb. One is the time I don't have to drive all over as I am living at Western. But so many more opportunities to do stuff we've never covered. You never thought we'd be doing tennis when we first started out doing Bushnell and West Prairie. Now we're doing pretty much anything we can. And that's, I think, a lot more fun for everybody watching at home because, you fire up, if you do have the notifications on for the Hulett PubliPro LLC YouTube channel, you will get a notification on your phone or on your computer, even your TV, I do believe, too. Hey, we're going live. If you're sitting around bored one night, not wanting to watch The Office for the 17,000th time,
Are you one of those guys? You're one of those guys, huh?
I don't watch The Office. I don't got time for that. You think I got time for that? The only time TV I get is on the elliptical at the gym. But tennis, swimming, wrestling, some things that you probably have never even gone to unless you had a kid in that sport. Might be fun to sit down, watch a little bit, see kind of how it runs.
And the cool thing about what we do with TSSR Game Time Live is all the stuff is allowed to stay on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it. So when Jack breaks records or whatever, Jack can go back and watch those. And when Southeastern wins sectionals, we had that last year. You can go back and watch that even today from last year. Yep. So that's the cool thing about what we're doing and what we're trying to do. We're also trying to get people involved. So if you have ever wanted to do color commentary, or you've ever wanted to do play-by-play, or you're an 8th grader and you want to learn how to run a camera and kind of shoot some games for us and make a little bit of money, that is all an option. So we're looking for those people. As we expand, we need more people, and there are more opportunities for us to expand. We're really at a place now where it's a people, employee shortage issue. We can't really get much bigger right now. So if you are at home and you think you want to try it, get a hold of us. If you're a high school kid, a freshman or a sophomore, and you want to try and you think maybe down the road I want to get into broadcasting in one avenue or another of it, this is a perfect opportunity to do that.
And we're right here. I know for me, sports broadcasting and broadcasting as a whole is a big thing over at Western. So if you get into here in high school or whatever, kind of start to like it, maybe even want to go to college for it, it's right there. I mean, you're a Western grad. I'm going to be a Western grad. We have Greg Phelps, who works at Western down the library and was a Western grad. I mean, everything kind of flows through there. We got a perfect building out there in Salee that has everything you'd ever want to do. That's the great thing about this is I thought I might want to just do announcing over at Western, and now I'm doing this pretty much full time. So get involved with anything you can.
So we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll have Jack Duncan. He's waiting on the wings over there. He's kind of like a politician, just sitting there ready to step on stage and take over the microphone. So we're going to take our first break here on TSSR Weekly, presented by TSSR Game Time Live and MDH here from Sports Corner at 124. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Jack Duncan from Macomb High School right after this.
We're an 11-bed ER.
Every day, we walk through these doors, not knowing what waits. It's not easy, but we do it every day. Because our mission is you. Providing you compassionate care and providing you the best possible patient experience. McDonough District Hospital.
I chose physical therapy because I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. I wanted to be able to help patients in some way related to more in depth. We get to know our patients, and that's really what kind of sets us apart.
And welcome back to TSSR Weekly here live from the Sports Corner at 124. I'm Dwayne Hulett, and now alongside Jack Duncan. Jack, you were within earshot, so everything I was being kind of funny about, you could hear, right?
Yep.
So while I was being funny, it somewhat, well, outside maybe the politician thing, the rest is pretty much true. You're going to be in the record books. You're already there at Macomb High for football. What was that like? I mean, Phil Bradley has been the athlete, right, at Macomb. I mean, baseball and football, and he played at Missouri, I think, and then he played professional baseball and all that stuff. So he's been the guy. What's it been like to chase down a record of his and then break that record?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sweet. Growing up in Macomb, you know who Phil Bradley is. And me personally, I know him even more well because I'm a Mizzou fan myself. So, like, when I go to the baseball games, I see his plaque up. And, you know, obviously in Macomb, you see Phil Bradley stuff everywhere. So, I mean, to take a record from an athlete like that is a pretty sweet deal.
Well, I know that you can't do any of that record-breaking passing stuff. For those of, I guess we didn't even say it, you passed the total passing yards record of Phil Bradley. We didn't even mention what record you broke, but probably something that, I mean, people are maybe less surprised that gets broke now because there's a little bit more passing in high school, but it takes a good team, right? And it takes a good group of receivers, and you've got some really good ones this year, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this year and in years past. I mean, I've been quarterback since sophomore year, and I've had not only wide receivers but a great line, you know, guys that'll make plays for me also on the edges. So, I mean, it's been pretty easy on me. But, yeah, I've been very lucky to have those guys with me.
So you did have the short – you mentioned your sophomore year. Your sophomore year was the shortened COVID year, so you only had 6 games that year. So you did this in maybe a little less time. But you still got a lot of football left, and I don't feel like – you probably feel like that this is done yet, right?
No, yeah. I mean, we still have a lot of big team goals. Yeah, we're only halfway through my senior year, so we definitely have some goals to conquer still.
So this week you've played some teams that are down a little or small, schooled, whatever, and people are like, oh, they're 4-0, but it's not. You're going to get your first real test, I think, this week. What do you expect to see out of Farmington?
Yeah, I mean, we know what we're going to get from Farmington. We watch them on film. It's the same. It's basically they do the same stuff. They stack the line. They want to come get you. But I mean, we've been preparing for them, and we know they're going to be a good team. But if we execute and do things well, we know we'll be there competitive at the end.
Well, Coach Horrell mentioned that they like to send an unblocked extra every time.
Yeah.
They like to blitz. So you as a quarterback, knowing where that's coming from pre-snap will probably be a key for you, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, I mean, you can see them. They line up on the line, but, you know, they bring that extra guy down, but that also means they don't have, like, a free safety. You know, all the receivers are on a one-on-one matchup, so, you know, there's benefits and cons to it, but I'll be able to see them, yeah.
You have to feel pretty good about having JT Jeter, if he's healthy, and Langdon Allen one-on-one on the outside. I mean, as a quarterback, even if you get somebody in your face pretty quick, you loft that up, those two guys are going to go get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of had a taste of that team camp at Western. So we played Peoria High actually at Western in team camp, and they did the exact same thing as Farmington. They brought the house, and, you know, 2-3 plays, I just threw it up to Langdon and JT, and they just came down and made a play. So, I mean, we're going to be ready for it.
So defensively, your guys' defense has been a huge key. Ethan Ladd and names like that. The defensive line has been really good. The defensive backfield is going to get more of a test, I think, this weekend as well, because they do like to throw the ball too.
Yeah, they definitely do like to throw the ball. And, I mean, our defense has been playing well, but we got to be ready for both. They're dual threat. They got a really fast quarterback, but, you know, we've been working hard in practice, and I think we're going to be prepared for it.
Well, let's stop talking about this Friday's game. Let's start talking about you. We brought you here. So I know that you're not just a one-sport athlete. In an era of kids that focus on something, you're more like the Phil Bradleys of the world. He played everything, and he ended up going to the MLB, but he was a record holder in football. You're going to Division I baseball. So what is it that has kept you playing everything as you try to excel at everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love to compete, and I know if I stopped playing basketball that I'd watch the guys playing in a regional championship, I'd be like, man, I wish I could be there to help, you know. And I love my teammates in all three sports. You know, I got different relationships there, but yeah, I mean, it would be really hard for me to leave a sport to go pursue, you know, extra practice. It's a different sport, but yeah, I mean, it would be hard for me to leave that sport.
So you mentioned is leaving basketball. Is that if you had to leave one, is that the one you would leave?
If I had to, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so, yeah, if I had to. Just because it's in between football and baseball, and yeah.
Well, I've known your mom for a long time. Your mom's family, actually, for a long time. And she's sent me several messages, and she actually warned me that you would be beating Phil Bradley's record, she hoped. But I think you did it a little faster than she thought you were going to do it. Is that because you had really good games, or is that because she's not good at math?
I think that's more so because she's not good at math. I mean, I was pretty much set up to have it a little earlier if I played well in the right games.
Well, I feel any pressure with that stuff? I mean, did that record have it? Did you have any pressure because of that?
I mean, not really. I mean, when you're playing a football game, you're thinking about winning. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about a record. It was just kind of a cool after game thing, like, oh, sweet, you know, I got the record. But yeah, no, I was more so just worried about winning the game.
Well, you talked about being able to play. Max Reiner's been a pretty big part of what you guys have done this year, and he's actually been healthy this year. What's that been like for you guys as a team, having him around and healthy?
Yeah, it's been huge. He was healthy my sophomore year, and he was our workhorse back. And, you know, last year, unfortunately, he was hurt. But, you know, having him back makes it easier on me, makes it easier on everybody else. You know, Max, like, he'll break a tackle, and, you know, it causes much more problems defensively. And, yeah, it's just awesome having Max.
Well, we mentioned that you're Division I athlete. So I believe that I saw that you were going to Western, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're going to play baseball at Western as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
So do you like to hit, or are you a pitcher that just likes to pitch?
Yeah, I love to hit. I mean, for my high school team, I love to hit. But, you know, I think I might be a little bit better at pitching. And, you know, that's what I work really hard at in the off season to get better at.
So how many pitches do you throw?
You know, I'm working on I don't throw a changeup as much as I should. I should throw a changeup more, but I throw a 4-seam fastball, 2-seam, slider, kind of a curveball, but yeah, that's mainly it.
How do you throw kind of a curveball? What's kind of a curveball?
I call it kind of a curveball because it's in between a curveball and a slider, so it's not like 12-6. It's more coming down like
it's more like 9-6?
Yeah, that's how I would describe it. So it's a little bit of a different curve, so I don't really know if you call it a curveball, a slurve, but yeah, that's what it is.
A slurve?
Yeah, a slurve.
Call it I think we could go with that.
Yeah.
So when we do your baseball games this year, I'm going to try to recognize the slurve.
Okay. All right.
I'm not going to lie, though. I coached baseball. I played baseball. I can't see pitches. I don't know how I ever hit the ball. I just see the ball and hit the ball. Everybody's like, oh, the rotation's this way, and you know it's going to do this. And I'm like, I saw a ball, and I swung the bat at it.
Yeah, I imagine it's even harder up there, too, watching.
Do you see the rotation or anything when you're hitting?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of – first thing you notice is kind of the speed's a little off, so then you're like, okay, I got to sit back here for a curveball, but you're always trying to be on time for a fastball and adjust to a curveball.
Well, I'm excited to see where this season goes for the Bombers. You know, with TSSR Game Time Live being able to do all this stuff, wrestling, I'm sure some of your friends from football are wrestlers, right?
Yeah.
And you have friends that swim and stuff like that. Football and basketball and now volleyball to some extent gets a lot of publicity in Macomb. Mm-hmm. Wrestling's been pretty big from time to time as well, but tennis and stuff kind of gets forgotten about. Do you feel like it'll be cool for the soccer team and tennis team to at least get at least a view or two on here?
Yeah, absolutely, because I know we got some great athletes that don't play like the main sport, football or basketball, but we got some great athletes in other sports, and yeah, I think it's pretty sweet to give them coverage as well and not just the main outlet sports.
I want to – do you have any friends that are swimmers? Like legit swimmers?
Well, I mean, I had in the past, but I don't know who's exactly swimming this year versus what they're doing. But I definitely have friends who swim.
So I went to Western. I worked at the Western Courier. And one of the kids that wrote when I was the sports editor at the Western Courier, he was a sports writer for me, and he was on the swim team. And I don't know if anybody really pays attention to swimmers. They have no body fat.
No.
If they're like legit swimmers, they have no body fat.
Mm-hmm.
He had 4% body fat or some crazy number like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's
I'm
crazy.
like, that's not even healthy. I mean, how do you do that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy.
I mean, do you know what your percent body fat is?
Have
you ever
I don't
checked?
even know. I have no idea.
He came back from swim practice one day. He goes, "Hey, we got our body fat checked. I got 4% or something like that." I'm like, I got 4% in my pinky.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. So these guys in the not so popular sports, right, work really hard at what they do.
Yeah.
The golf teams at Macomb this year are really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some close buddies on the golf teams, and they're freaking good. I play golf with them. I try to keep up. I cannot keep up. But, yeah, I mean, they're fun to watch.
So what's do you play enough to have a handicap, or do they give you a handicap?
I just played with a couple of my friends later this summer, Connor and Hunter, and, I mean, I don't really know my handicap. I'm lucky if I bogey a hole. But
I bogeyed one time and thought I was a winner.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just go for bogeys. I don't really know my handicap.
Well, when you're playing, that's the thing. When you're playing guys that are really good, it's you can't care, right?
Yeah,
you just got to go out and have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, as we move through football, we've kind of talked about football. What's your anticipations for basketball and then baseball?
Yeah, I mean, basketball-wise, we want to make a deep run in regionals this year. I mean, we didn't feel like we did as well as we wanted to in postseason, which we had injuries, and I was actually sick the first regional game. But we definitely want to make it far and win games, and baseball-wise do the same thing, go far in regional-wise, and just be playing on that regional championship day.
So, you're going to have a different baseball coach this year, right?
Yeah.
So, what's that thought process? I haven't seen who they hired yet. Do you know? Have they hired anybody yet?
No, they haven't yet. I mean, it's going to be different because we all grew up with Boehner as your coach. You know, even in Little League, you knew Coach Boehner was a coach, and he'd come and watch you. So it'll definitely throw a different element in the season without Coach. But, I mean, we don't know who they're going to hire yet, but I'm sure it'll be a good hire.
Macomb has been lucky to have Coach Boehner, and then they're lucky to get him as a principal, obviously, also.
Yeah.
But he's been great for especially Macomb High baseball, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's been great. He pushes us. You know, you can't be slacking off at practice, which is a good thing. You know, and he wants to put in the extra work. He gave us examples of how he was missing time with his kids, but, you know, he's there with us before a regional game. So, you know, he was a great coach, and we were all lucky to have him.
He's still young, too. I mean, he's way younger than I am, and I'm elderly, as Kenny pointed out earlier. I'm sure he'll be back to coach again someday, right? But give him some props for advancing himself, and then now he's going to step away and do that, so that's pretty cool. But, Jack, thank you for coming and being our first guest of the year.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, and good luck this Friday. There's no pressure. You know, you're the first guest, so we're going to hope that it's not like a Madden curse or something like that.
All right, sweet.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll take a break and be back here on TSSR Weekly in just a couple minutes live from Sports Corner at 124.
At Country Financial, we enjoy serving the community in which we live, big or small.
I love living in the Blandonsville area. It's where I grew up, went to school, and decided to raise my family. I never had a desire to live or work anywhere other than in a small town. I feel lucky to help my longtime friends and neighbors with their insurance needs. It's like working with family every day.
I'm Brett Powell, your local Country Financial representative, whose door is always open to work with you.
And welcome back to TSSR Weekly. Dwayne Hulett, Kenny Suter back alongside after a great interview with Jack Duncan. And it's pretty cool to say, I mean, even if you don't go to Division I, which he is going to Division I baseball, but even if you don't advance past high school, just to say that you have a record that you beat out Phil Bradley for,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
it's always cool, even small town records from your high school. It's really great just to have that kind of recognition of like, hey, that's kind of cool that I was able to do that. Looking up at every time you go into the junior high in Bushnell, they have the record full of track records, and every time I'd sit there, I'd be like, hey, I know some of those names, and I think I could beat that if I was ever good at sports, but
you weren't.
I was
just
never
like
good at sports.
Me, I was average at best, but
that's our nickname right there, average at best.
Average at best. Might be our new nickname. That's a good plan right there. So one of the things we're going to do here on TSSR Weekly is we will have highlights of a lot of the games, not all the games, because we've been doing a lot of games the last few weeks, but we will have highlights of pretty much every school. We don't have Abington Avon in here yet, but we'll have them in the future as well on here. So as we start to expand a little more, we'll add a little bit more. But we are having highlights. So it'll be about a minute a piece or whatever per game, and we'll talk a little bit about things. And sometimes it'll be games that Kenny and I were there for, and sometimes it'll be games that other people did for us on TSSR Game Time Live. But we'll talk about them. The first one we're going to do tonight is BPC football as they played at Champaign against St. Thomas More. The funny thing about St. Thomas More, I always thought it was Moore. It's actually More, More. Did you know that?
Well, I misspelled it on my notes right here because I did not know that at all.
I looked it up. I was like, because I saw somebody else had it spelled More, and I'm like, there's no way that's right. It's more like the name,
name,
right? Nope, it's more like I need more whatever. So I don't know. Kind of caught me off guard. You folks probably don't care, but here we go. BPC football against St. Thomas More, and Kenny can bring it to you here.
So they'll start it out. These are all from the second half, so we had some technical issues in the first half, but a little bit of a fumble as they're able to recover. That was Jalen Conley. You're going to see some more names from the more JV style of the Spartans. Long pass there from over to Lane Huffman. As you heard his name thousands of times, it seemed last year, you're just going to hear it more and more as he's great at running and catching. As you can see the talent rushing over for the pass, 52 yards on the pass. Here on the defensive side, Tanner Pierce able to knock the ball with just his hand on the turn. Picked up by Lane Huff, and he gets it down to about the 49-yard line.
I'm going to replay that. Did you see that little sidestep Lane Huffman did right there as he picked the football up?
He is so agile. He has his head on a swivel no matter what. He's going to try and break through every tackle.
And then Tanner Pierce doing a great job sneaking in there and knocking away. But this little sidestep right here, boom.
Make a man miss.
That's a nice little sidestep
right for a sophomore.
Yes, definitely. So first down for BPC on the turnover.
Believe that was number 42.
And then coming back over here, pass once again, Lane Huffman. This one here, I thought it was a rush when I was first cutting through because, you see it looks like a hit on the 40-yard line, but he's able to get around, cuts through, blocks, gets good blocks, breaks through 4 tackles, gets on the sideline. He looks like, he's going to get tackled. No more, goes through 4, touchdown, 65 yards on the run. That's not even adding in the amount for the pass.
Yeah, the funny thing is he went from the far side to the near side, right? So he made a long run out of that one as we are back here after BPC. BPC fell to St. Thomas More in the end.
42-28.
Scored some points late. The BPC's issues have been falling behind early, right? They've fallen behind and then had to play catch-up. This game, they got behind a few touchdowns and then held it in. And in the other games, it was the fresh soft scoring against the fresh soft, the other team. Varsity scored against varsity here. They just got to figure out how to get that ball rolling a little earlier.
That's one issue that the football team and even the volleyball team that we'll talk about, they both just kind of come out always just a little flat. I don't really know what it is, whether they start feeling bad about themselves, but after it seems like the first quarter or the first set, then they finally kick it into gear. And you think, man, if this team would have been here at the beginning, we wouldn't even have an issue of being down and trying to come back. And that's one thing that, it's all about the mentality. You can't really coach that, teach that. You just got to figure it out as a team.
The next highlight's going to be Macomb Volleyball. And we talked about how good the Macomb Volleyball team is, and the Macomb Volleyball team is legit, folks. I'm telling you, they are very, very good, and we're going to be here next Wednesday. We're going to preface this. We're going to be here next Wednesday after Macomb plays Southeastern at Washington Street Gym. The cool thing about it is Coach Rexroth and Coach Kerr are going to come here and be on TSSR Weekly with us after the game. Now, Macomb played at Illini West last night, and Illini West is a legit good school, good volleyball team as well. Macomb won in 2 sets. Macomb varsity has not lost a set all year long, and they are good. So let's take a look. They played against Farmington last week, and it was at Washington Street Gym. And I can't read your writing, so I'm going to see if I can remember what's going on. Farmington on the left, Macomb on the right. There's a bump set, and it's going to come to Kennedy Adair, and she's going to go right down the middle of the floor for the kill. Kennedy Adair, a Western athlete to be as well, as now it's going to be a serve, and Farmer's going to send it back across again. It's going to come a bump set back to Adair again, and this time it's going to go off the libero and out of bounds. Kennedy Adair is perhaps one of the best players in our area outside of Amanda Stevens, and there was
Stufflebeam
yep.
The ace. It's 2 in a row. Is that one I pointed out on the game itself? You just said there's unfair that type of shot because you cannot defend it.
Yeah, the let serve should not be allowed. Coach Kerr and I have talked about that off air numerous times. It's just not even fair. Here comes the middle, and that's
one taken down by Robinson.
Oh, it's Robinson on the attack, I think. And anyway, here we go. Back to another attack from Farmington. And a tip across by Robinson there.
That one was Robinson.
That was Robinson. The other one was Stortsom, actually. Yeah.
I can't even read my own writing. It was
so, well, we will go. I was like, 11 is not Robinson, but I couldn't remember who it was off the top of my head. Stortsom, I'm sorry. I apologize. But at any rate, they defeated Farmington in 2 rather lopsided sets as well. So it is one of those things where Macomb is just very, very talented. And what Macomb brings to the table is great defense in the back row. They have 3 kids or maybe 4 that either have been liberos and definitely could be liberos on numerous teams throughout our area. And the other thing they have is they've got 5 or 6 girls that can just flat drill the ball. And then you have Kennedy Adair playing left who can just demolish the ball at the 10-foot line. So, there's all kinds of attack opportunities for Macomb, and they're going to be good. They're going to be a tough out in the postseason.
They find every single hole in your defense, no matter what you do. If you try to defend the right to make sure Adair can't get it, Robinson's right there on a set pushover. If you try to defend and keep on pushing back, then Stufflebeam and other players playing back will just hit it hard and longer. They can't do anything really against a team like that. You can't find a weakness.
So BPC Volleyball played Farmington as well. It went to 3 sets against BPC. BPC did beat Peoria Heights. They fell in this one in 3 sets. But, Kenny, you called this one, and it was a really fun game to watch, too.
This was probably Bushnell's best game. They did end up losing near the end, but their best game so far this year, as you get just a crazy shot there. That was Elizabeth Gilfillan able to knock it out on the bump. Didn't expect it to fall down.
Campfire defense, as Ned Eckert likes to say. Everybody stood around and watched it fall in the middle.
And you'll see 2 in a row. As when I was editing, I went, well, I know
Lentini?
Jackson. Janet Jackson. I always mess those 2 up. Jackson had a good shot. Perfect placement down into that corner. That's just a great spot to put it if you can find it. As they get set for once again, get a bump, and moved over. Better defense by Bushnell this game as the Spartans able to defend a little bit better. That one is Lentini on the pushover. Multiple kills this year for her. She's been playing out of her mind on the volleyball side. Normally we talk about her more as a softball player.
Well, there she is in the back row after the serve as well. Gilfillan on the attack, and it's dropped in front of the deep defender for the Farmington Farmers for a kill for Gilfillan.
You'll see Gilfillan out here just a couple more times as she had an amazing game, probably her best one of her career. I think she ended up with 7 or 8 kills, especially down in crunch time. She was able to use that height that she has. And here was another great part of this game. An ace. Jackson had 4 or 5 aces throughout this game. Really was helping keep this game close. As you can see, 17-9. And this entire section was great defense by both teams, 14-14 playing to 15. So both teams are trying to get that 1 point advantage to go into match point, as the Farmers are just moving all over. However, after the 4th time, they cannot do it, as it'll be knocked down. Maybe the 5th time. Maybe I can count one more time. There we go. Janet on the kill, able to play up. However, Spartans did fall 17-15 in the 3rd set.
So I thought that the 15-point 3rd set thing was only supposed to be in tournaments, but you said they've been doing that for their 3-set matches.
A couple of times they have gone 25. Pretty much, thank God that I work with Jeff Vansel in my other job, as he's been the scorer, I do believe, since 1986 down on
when his
side.
wife was the coach.
Yep, when Pam was the coach. So every single time they go to 3rd set, I send him a quick text. All right, are we 15 or are we 25 today? So he'll be able to send it up. But that's one thing about that Bushnell team. No substitutions.
Yeah.
They might substitute one person in if there's a really just one of their players is really ragged. Everybody plays all around. They'll move one person out if they have to for a serve situation.
They played last night 3 sets and lost 25-23 in set 3 in a gym that was probably 90 degrees. It was so miserable in that Abington-Avon High School gym last night, but they played hard, and Abington-Avon played hard as well. It was a hot night. So we've talked about MHS volleyball. Now it's time to talk about Southeastern volleyball, and Southeastern is as good as they get in the area as well, especially at Class 1A. However, there's another good team just outside of our area, the Unity Mustangs, who have beat Southeastern twice now, and they played on Monday night, and Southeastern lost in 3 to Unity. So here's what that game kind of looked like. As you can see, Evan Wagner running the camera for me, and there's Amanda Stevens. She's probably the best Class A player, or one of the best Class A players in the state of Illinois, and she gets an ace there with the jump serve.
18 kills in this game.
20 actually.
Oh,
I think.
20.
She
hey,
got
I can't.
20. She ended up with 20. You're right, though. It was a bunch. There's Abby McMillan on the attack, and she gets a kill from the left. Abby McMillan is actually switched from left to right. There's Kinsey Griswold on the serve, and she gets an ace. Kinsey Griswold is a freshman, folks, and she has been playing lights out for the Suns. And there's Schaefer with a set and a big-time kill by Amanda Stevens as she goes down the right side. As you can see, the Mustangs won set number 1 going away, but then set number 2, the Suns and Amanda Stevens. And that one, I'm from behind on there. There's Abigail Schaefer getting ready to serve now. Stevens actually chased that down, running at a dead sprint, and come back across the body, and there's an ace for Abigail Schaefer.
When I was watching the game, cutting these highlights, I thought that was going out and around. It looked like she curved all the way around. Great play.
And there's another ace, I believe, for Schaefer as well. So the Suns get the 25-21 win, and now Abigail Schaefer with the Suns down by 4 in set number 3. And Stevens with the block and trying to get her team back in it. But as Coach Kerr said after the game, the Suns just let Unity get a little too far ahead and ended up losing in 3. But those are 2 teams, now that we've seen how the postseason is going to shake out, Southeastern's going, even though they're only about 15 miles north-south from each other, they're farther away than that, but they're 15 miles north-south. Unity's going south. Southeastern's going north. Those 2 teams, folks, I'm telling you, could both end up at Redbird Arena, and they could wind up in a state championship game, and it could be a fun one.
And that would be a really cool, especially for people around here, have a state championship game against 2 teams that are right down the corner.
It reminds me of back in the day when Northwestern La Harpe played Carthage in the state championship game. I mean, it would be that kind of a feel, and those 2 teams are that close together, and it would be a lot of fun. Now, we had Jack Duncan on the show a little bit earlier. Let's look and see what his football team did against West Hancock, and Kenny was on the call for this.
And what they did was destroy, as it was a 46-0 game, and nobody scored in the second half. Starting kickoff picked up by JT Jeter, who had one heck of a game. Turns it around on the sideline and pushed through. And Tegan, who has been helping us out on color, you know, he, I think, almost busted one of our mics going, oh, it's a sideline, as nobody really expected it at the beginning. Get that first touchdown in on homecoming. Great night. Another great player, Max Reiner, as he's able to push through, spin around. I thought he got tackled there when I was first announcing. Comes through, gets the corner touchdown. This is maybe 3 minutes into the game. That's how just quick this Bombers team has played. Another run by Reiner out towards the left this time. He's got 3 people all around him, and he just pushes through like nobody's even trying to tackle. Another run this time for Reiner as he's just showing blows by 5 different players. Had every opportunity to try and tackle him. Gets broken by 2 tackles. Reiner able to push through. And now we're able to see a little bit of the passing game as over into the corner, into the end zone, barely gets himself in.
Langdon Allen on the touchdown catch.
And Allen was a name that we said a lot on the blocking side as he was having a great night blocking for this team as they moved out to the side. 46-0 was your final, and that's the type of game, homecoming, that you get 46-0 at the end of the first half. Everybody was ecstatic on that sideline.
Everybody gets to play on homecoming. That's always a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what, JT Jeter is fast.
Insane speed.
You saw on several plays there that athleticism was on display for Macomb, and it's been on display all year. And Max Reiner is fast and elusive. JT Jeter and Langdon Allen on the outside are tough. They are tough, folks. And the Bombers are going to be a hard out.
And the biggest, you saw all those great rushes, the great passes. The biggest thing for them, defensive line. Wes Hancock could not hand the ball off unless they were in shotgun formation, or else they were tackled before the ball got handed off. If they handed the ball off in shotgun formation, they better find a hole because they were getting tackled no matter what, and they were only blitzing 3. That's how great of a defensive line that the Bombers have. Linebackers shooting in on blitzes and other types of exotics. Just a great game overall for the Bombers.
Well, we can move on to West Prairie now as they played United last week also and picked up a loss to United, but it did go 3, and Greg Phelps was on the call for that, and that was another gym on a Thursday night, extremely hot.
Oh, 100%, especially around, as you can see, the hanger style of the gym. Able to knock it down. That one was Richardson, blocked it, and had a little bit of a kill there, just using the height advantage that the Cyclones kind of had in that front. However, they're not able to pick up the win. Using it again, pops it down that one. Don't believe that Greg said the name as I look down and I have a question mark. I do believe that was probably Richardson and Welsh also in there this time. An ace by Ava Beck.
Once again, the
not really an ace, but still a nice job on the serve. Able to get it into that back corner.
Serve on Brown the back.
This one right.
Over by
just a
right,
random hit as
sometimes you're in the right spot at the right time and things go your way, and that's one of those times.
You could hear Greg in the call just going, well, I don't think anybody thought that was going to fall that way. Able to save it is United. Turn it around. Let's try it one more time as Welsh gets the kill. Another name that we called a lot last year, using this year again, using that height advantage that the Cyclones have.
28-26 in set number 1, and then Welch, is that Welch number 6?
Indeed, she gets a kill.
Through the block.
Off of Venonic,
picked up this one just defensively. They're trying to save it as they do. They're down 23-11 at that point. Trying to save it, trying to turn the game around. You can see defensively they're doing everything they can. I kind of like to throw those in there. Kind of shows the game it's kind of almost out of reach, but they're still playing as hard as they can to try and get something because it's a game of momentum. You saw in the Bushnell game in their second set against Farmington, they rattled off 7 in a row. You can get that at any time at volleyball with rally scoring.
That's right. West Prairie football up next. Their homecoming game against Ridgewood had a little more problems than Macomb did. We had some problems as well. We had some new computer systems. As we've grown here, we've added things, computers, cameras, tripods, all kinds of stuff, and this one computer that we're using there, apparently it's fine on Wi-Fi and it's fine on hardwired internet, Ethernet, but it's not good on cellular internet, and that's what we use when we're outside of the school. And so you'll see some glitching here. We apologize for that, but we are moving past that, and we should be good this weekend.
West Prairie did lose 44-15 against the Ridgewood Spartans. However, they did have some great plays coming in this I formation, as you can kind of see there. Coming out,
And
Barkley will pass
touchdown
to the
to
senior Denver Mitchell, able to come up and grab it. You didn't really see much, but it was a jump pass, and this was a broken play that shows the athleticism. Punt going to Jensen Laughlin, goes above his head, picks it up at the 25-yard line. He's going to come past first
to
the
his left, up the
far
middle now.
corner.
Laughlin still going,
towards
still
the
going,
left
still going.
sideline.
Laughlin is off. Laughlin
towards
is
the
off.
end zone.
He is off to the races.
32-7
Touchdown,
at that point.
Cyclones.
Wow.
Defense
The,
really
the
having
best
some
play
issues
from
against
the Cyclones all night comes on the
And it's
high
the Spartans
snap.
of
Laughlin not
Ridgewood,
able to
by
come
the
down
way.
with it.
But they were
Man,
playing
oh
this game
man, looked like
earlier
kind of the
today, or earlier this evening when I was in here, and they're like, well, this is last year's game because they're playing the Spartans. I said, well, that's
Out
the
to
Ridgewood
Rigg,
Spartans, not
and Rigg is
BPC
gonna
Spartans.
be in.
And that
The
last
2-point
play,
is
Owen
good.
Rigg catches
So
the ball
Barkley
for
just able to
Barkley. Owen
roll.
Rigg having a great year this year defensively on that linebacker spot, and he's coming into his own as a running back option. Got some surefire hands. He's a great person to have on that side block because he's got a little bit of bigger build. He's got that more fullback situation going on. Perfect person to slot in 8-man if they're getting too many blitzes and can't get Barkley enough time. Comes in, they go too wide in, and just push right through. I've been loving watching this West Prairie team. You know, they've had some troubles going against teams that are better than them. However, they've been able to move around, especially formation-wise, for Coach McCormick, and just try to help out as much as they can.
Well, we're going to take our next break and our last break of the night, and we'll come back and tell you a little bit about what's coming up this week on TSSR Game Time Live and what you can expect to see on Hulett PubliPro LLC, our YouTube channel. So we'll take a break, and we'll be back here on TSSR Game Time Live's TSSR Weekly right after this.
Every day, we walk through these doors, not knowing what waits. It's not easy, but we do it every day because our mission is you. Providing you compassionate care and providing you the best possible patient experience. McDonough District Hospital.
And welcome back for the final time here tonight to the Sports Corner at 124. I want to thank them for the hospitality. Johnny McKee is back there in the back somewhere. He's going to wave at us. I tried to get him to come on and talk, but are you going to come talk? Come on up here. Come on up here. We'll get Johnny up here for a minute, and we'll get him under a headset for just a second. Hop up here. We're going to do it live on camera because that's how we can roll here. That's how we roll here at TSSR Weekly is Johnny McKee is going to hop on here, and I got to turn your microphone up. Sit on down there, and you know the only bad part is you don't have a Sports Corner at 124 shirt.
I don't.
And
I don't have anything.
you don't have a TSSR Weekly or Game Time Live. You don't have. You just got a sweatshirt on. But
I
hey,
don't
man,
have anything.
we can't thank you
Gray
enough
and black.
Yeah, well, you need orange and black, right?
Yeah,
or
should.
or red, white, and blue, or gray. I guess gray and black. We can say you're supporting West Prairie tonight. How about that,
Perfect.
Coach
That's
McCormick is a good guy, so we can support him. But
Very good.
thank you very much for coming in and letting us coming on board this year with the addition of Macomb and everybody thinks, well, you came on because of Macomb, but you're supporting West Prairie and BPC as well.
Bet.
And
Most
and
definitely.
You guys really focus on the local stuff here, don't you?
We do. That was kind of what we decided when we took over last October 18th was our first day of ownership. And me and Brian Kerr own the business and everything. And we bought it from Dan O'Neill and Tracy and Todd Hamilton and Linda O'Neill. And they were great to work with switching everything over to us. And we kind of made the decision to really focus on some local sports and Western as well.
Yeah, Western is obviously
Most
local
definitely.
as well, right?
That's probably the number one. And really, focusing on the local kids and things like that.
Having Jack Duncan here tonight,
Yeah.
a record breaker of a Phil Bradley record. I said, that has to be – I mean, you can as you get older, people are not going to know who Phil Bradley is probably, but you can still, you can say, I broke a record that Phil Bradley had.
Yeah, from 1978. Is that right?
I think so. It was somewhere in that range anywhere.
I graduated in 1994, and that's all we heard about was Phil Bradley for years.
Phil Bradley Field. And and Phil Bradley this and Phil Bradley that. When I worked at the newspaper in the late 90s, it was Phil Bradley everything.
Yeah, he was a University of Mizzou star and went to the Mariners and went to the White Sox later on.
Yeah. So it has to. I mean, that's something you can remember forever, right?
You bet.
And I mean, Jack's a good athlete. I mean, he didn't do it as a fluke. I mean, he plays 3 sports. He's going to pitch at Western. He's a good athlete, so he can do that stuff, right?
Right. Jack does it right. He has good parents. Growing up, starting in the 4th grade, playing basketball and everything. Yeah, he's a good athlete, and we're happy to have him here at WIU next year.
Well, you mentioned you graduated in '94. You know Kelly Sears pretty well.
Very good.
And Kelly did the first football game with us. He gets this racing thing, and he gets busy. And, I mean, you know all about that, I'm sure. So he hasn't done much with us. I think he's going to hop on board. We got to get racing season over, and then we can get Kelly on board. But Kelly is kind of synonymous or anonymous or maybe trying to think of a bad word. But it's all good. I was trying to think. You think Macomb sports, you think Kelly Sears, and he's still around, and it's cool to have him on here with us with some of our stuff.
It's fantastic. Kelly retired just a couple years ago, I think, from the school district, and it's glad to keep him around the community for doing things like this. He could easily be one of those people that could leave and follow his kids, but it's really good to have him around and sticking around the town.
So you mentioned you do try to focus on local sports. You have the Downtown Athletic Club here on Mondays. You're now having TSSR Weekly on Wednesdays. You're constantly playing TSSR Game Time live events on at least 1 or 2 or 3 TVs up here.
Most definitely.
What do you guys offer when people come in? You have specials every night, and you have dollar wings, I think, tonight.
Right. Tonight is a dollar wing night. We have daily drink specials. We're going to start opening up for lunches this coming Tuesday. That's going to be a whole different menu for lunches between 11 and 2 o'clock, just for lunches. And there will be specials coming up each night as well.
Yeah, so just check them out. Find them on Facebook, and make sure you come hang out with us when we're doing this show. It's going to be fun. Hopefully, we can get the place packed, and they can heckle whoever's on. It's always fun when you can heckle the crew and heckle the people doing the show. It always makes it a lot more fun. I mean, I'm used to being heckled, so it really doesn't affect me anymore.
Yeah.
But if somebody was sitting there behind the camera right now making fun of you, you would probably be laughing, wouldn't you?
Well, we see Jack Duncan sitting over there with my 2 kids, Dean Wagner and Ainsley Holthouse. So this is just a local hangout, small town living.
Ainsley Holthouse isn't a bad basketball player either.
She's very good, yeah.
She's not too shabby. I'm sure we'll talk about her as the basketball season goes along for sure. So come up, watch. If you can't make it, of course they're at home, I think, this weekend, right? Yeah, Macomb's at home.
We play Farmington at home.
Yeah, at home, yeah. Yep. So I see what I do there? I just lost it. But anyway, if you can't make it out to MHS, or you can't make it to a road trip for a football season especially, come up here and just set in with your friends and watch. You'll have it on the big screen, won't you?
Yep. If we don't have it that night, we'll have it throughout the week, the next week, or the next day. Most definitely.
And you can catch Cardinals and Cubs games or Bears games or whatever else too, I suppose.
Definitely.
Even though we don't really care about that stuff. It's not important. So, Johnny, I can't thank you enough for coming on board and doing what you guys have done with us. And I think it's a great partnership that can continue to grow. And my goal is, if I can remember, because I get talking and I forget, the Sports Corner Kill thing. If Macomb Bombers continue to be as good as they have been with volleyball for the coming years, it's going to become like a Citizens National Bank shot back in the day, because you can say it literally 1,000 times a game. It seems like it's like every other point.
Yeah, growing up in the mid '80s, going to WIU games, listening to that every. I'm trying to think some of the guys back in the mid.
Chris Smith announced back in the mid '90s, the late '90s, but I don't remember the announcers before that. But
there were some good players back then. It was Jack Morgenthaler had great teams back then.
Yeah, and then
Fun
Kerwin had some really good
he
teams
did.
there. Is that Garrett Vicks and I could draw on a blank. Who
Billy
else? Billy
Heisler from
Warsaw. Heisler was there.
Corey Fosdick from Macomb.
Yep, there was a lot of good teams go through Western, and that Citizens National Bank shot was something that we still. It's sad. We remember Citizens National Bank shot, but we can only remember 5 players from all those years. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sitting here trying to think of some of the players from the '80s. God, there's a lot of good. I mean, that's where I grew up, Dwayne. Watching WIU games.
See, I never got to go to WIU games when I was younger. I was from Bushnell, and times were different when we were that age, right?
They were.
I mean,
coming to town was a special thing.
Yes, that's what I come to Macomb every stinking day now. When I was that age, my mom never and us kids never came to Macomb. I think I was in Macomb 4 times, and I moved to Bushnell in 3rd grade until I started driving. I think maybe 3 or 4 times all I ever came to Macomb, and now I'm there every day.
Yeah, we grew up just off of Airport Road, north of town, and we didn't come to town maybe 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, that was 3 or 4 times a year more than me.
Yeah.
It's just travel and what we do today is so different, right? Of course, being able to watch high school sports on your computer or phone is something we never dreamt of either, I suppose.
That's great. That's
great.
But
it's been a lot of fun, and it's going to continue to be good. And I appreciate everything that you've done. And I think Kenny we're going to talk about the schedule. So Farmington game will be on here. The Macomb Farmington game will be available to watch up here throughout the week, and maybe on Friday. BPC's homecoming game against Peoria Heights. Everybody thinks that should be a win, so maybe we can get some people up to watch that as well.
Very good. Very good.
But I do appreciate it, and we will look forward to being here every Wednesday. Big week next week. Coach Kerr and Coach Rexroth are going to be here.
It'll be fun.
So we have to figure out. We should make them play a game or something, shouldn't we? Shouldn't we make them play some sort of a game, like memory, or we should find like the best players from both teams and make the other coach try to figure out who they are.
There you go.
What do you think? Something like that? I think we should do
something.
We'll have to figure something like that out. That sounds like make them watch video and tell us who they are or something.
We have a week to think about it.
There you go. That's what we'll do. So I lied. I'm going to take another break. We'll let Johnny get out of here, and then we will be back here with Kenny and the schedule in just a minute on TSSR Game Time Live, presented by MDH.
I grew up in a small town in Missouri, and I like the feel of community. I like knowing the people that I take care of and knowing the people around me, providing care for someone that you know is in this community and helping them to get better.
I couldn't ask for a better agent, for a better company in a disaster where you have no idea where to start.
I learned that there's not a given in life. It takes a team. There's people that are going to watch out for us and that care.
It's been pretty stressful. Once we saw Lori and got our plan, it's
like a huge weight lifted.
And after the short break, welcome back. I just throw stuff in. It's just all about fun here at TSSR Weekly, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Busy schedule coming up again, Kenny. It just, seems like that's where we're at right now as we get towards the end of the season. Volleyball tomorrow night. West Prairie has Camp Point Central, and the house at Camp Point Central is another really good volleyball team. That should be a good one to watch if you want to watch some volleyball on TSSR Game Time Live. And then we're going to have our first Abington-Avon game on tomorrow night as the Tornadoes play host to Anawan-Weathersfield, I do believe, on Thursday night. It was on our schedule. It was for Friday, but Coach or Mr. Kelso, Reed Kelso, has told me it's tomorrow night, so we'll have him on there, or have them on tomorrow night as well. And then Friday, we've got BPC against Peoria Heights for their homecoming game. That should be a good game. Yep. They favored to win that one, I do believe. And then Macomb and Farmington, that's got to be the game of the week, right?
That right there is a battle of wits, because you're going to have the fast speed of the Macomb offense versus just the versatility of Farmington. Farmington, ever since, before I was playing, has always been a pass-heavy team, very mobile. They really like their mobile quarterback. They like having wide splits on the offensive line so they can pick up and move as much as they can. Made defending them really, really hard.
Yeah, especially when you don't throw much. That's the thing. That's the thing where I think Macomb will give them more problems than other people, because Macomb is used to practicing against a pass offense. So they will be able to, replicate a little bit this week in practice what Farmington likes to do.
And
so
they
it should be a
have
great game.
a great secondary. Their cornerbacks and especially their safety. Can't remember the name off the top of my head.
JT Jeter,
I do know is
Old
one
House
of their
is over there.
Corner. They are having a great year so far on that secondary, taking care of nobody deeper than the deepest, making sure everything's in front of them. If they do get a catch, they're right there to take them down. No big long catches for touchdowns.
So we got tennis and soccer on Monday night. I think we're going to air for tennis because we've done one soccer match. So we'll do a tennis match against Galesburg on Monday. Tuesday next week is Macomb and BPC volleyball at Macomb, and I'm having problems here. I apologize, folks. Guess I should have taken a drink over my hour of talking. And then on Wednesday night, Macomb's back at it with Southeastern, as we talked about. So that's going to be a great matchup. We'll have Macomb a couple times next week on volleyball as they finally get to start playing at home a little bit. And then Thursday, BPC hosts West Prairie. So all of our area teams are going to be matching up against each other. That'll be Kenny on the call that one on Thursday night. And then Friday, we have A-Town against Havana. We have BPC hosting Polo.
And that right there is going to be a fun matchup. Polo deep into the championship playoffs last year.
They won the championship last year, actually. Polo did.
Oh, yeah.
Macomb hosts Elmwood Brimfield, which will be another good game next year.
Elmwood Brimfield kind of matches up kind of like Macomb. Very hard-headed. They're going to push you through, but they also still don't have those pass plays to trip you up once they've ran it down your throat as much as they can.
Well, West Prairie and Galva are next Friday as well, so that's what we've got going in the next week or so. We'll talk about those latter week games on our show on the 28th. That's next Wednesday. Tim Kerr, head coach of Southeastern. Brianna Rexroth, head coach of MHS, both here live on set next week. Should be a lot of fun. Kenny, thanks for joining us tonight. It's going to be, I think, our Wednesday night thing for the foreseeable future, so I appreciate everything you do. I know I give you a hard time a lot, but I do appreciate everything you do greatly.
I give you an even harder time.
Well, sometimes that is true. So for Kenny Suter, I'm Dwayne Hulett. Thanks to Sports Corner at 124 for having us tonight. Thanks to Jack Duncan for coming. We will see you from here next Wednesday night. It's going to be later. I'm going to guess 9-ish.
Yeah, after
because
the game.
It'll be after the game. But we'll be here, and you can watch the game first and then hear what the coaches have to say later on here at Sports Corner at 124. Go to the game and then come hang out with us. That'd be even better. So for Kenny Suter, I'm Dwayne Hulett. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week here on TSSR Weekly, live from Sports Corner at 124.